Drizzle, drazzle, drozzle, drone. Time for this one to go home. If anybody knows what that's from, go ahead and post it in the comments. Okay, yeah, we wish we could get in our Wayback Machine and go to Saturday, don't we? If anybody could do that and go back to Saturday, what would you do? Well, you would buy the hell out of silver, wouldn't you? Because since then, everything has changed. I'm going to start this video off with a new product from Germania Mint, and then I'm going to quickly get into something that I bought and comments about the current environment, the banking collapse, the increase in spot, the run in gold over 2,000. Wow, man, that came out of nowhere, didn't it? And well, let's just get going. That's all I can say. Okay, Germania Mint, as you know, and I want to thank the Germania Mint for sending me this advanced copy of this cute little guy. No, it's not a coin and it's not a round. It is their newest bar, and I think you're going to love it. So let me just show you that really quickly. I don't believe it is on the market yet. All right, so we got a nice little velvet bag, and inside is 1 little ounce of silver. They have a new 1 ounce silver bar, guys. And this bar is hologrammed and serialized so that it can be authenticated on their website. And I'm not sure I can get a wide enough spot, but it is the same quality as all the other bars, all the way up to a 100 ounce bar. And now they have, of course, they have metric, they have, standard English weights, and here is the latest edition. This one, they did not send me in a box. Now, all of their bullion, or at least most of it, to my understanding, has been boxed. This one came loose, so I don't know if this one will come boxed. I don't know if it will come shrink wrapped. But this one is raw, so I think it's kind of right off the assembly line. And I'm sure there's a code on there. Let's see if you can see it. You know what? I'm not seeing a serial number. Maybe you can see it. Gosh, I need my magnifying glass. Hold on 1 second. I know the hologram has a serial number on it. Oh, my light burned out. And this, yeah, this one only says Germania Mint, 4 nines, fine bullion. I'm not seeing a serial number stamped on the bar, but I do see the hologram on the back with a serial number starting with a 5K. I'm wondering if the, oh, maybe this is shrink wrapped. You know, I take it back. That is shrink wrapped. A little bit of plastic there on the sides, so it will always be that shiny unless you pull it out of there. Now they have definitively said that the initial bars that they released, the A code bars, were the first ones, and now they're in the B codes. I have to wonder, just going back to those initial releases, if the A code Germania bars will have value someday over the rest. I don't know. It is it's beautiful bullion, and this is the newest edition. I sure hope these come out as cheap as everything else that they're releasing right now, because they have been some of the low premium bullion on the market. Maybe not the lowest, but they certainly have been really hitting a nice price point that anybody that wants to put together a full collection of Germania bullion bars from now 1 ounce up to 100 ounce and everything in between could certainly do so. And they all have the consistent look, and they all have the holograms, and can be verified. So I think that's, oopsie, I think that's a winner. I think that is a real winner. I would love to have about 100 of these. Maybe they'll release at a good price point. We'll have to see. But clearly there is a lot of work for those that pour silver and cast silver. Just give me 1 second here. That pour silver and cast silver, you know that making 1 ounce bars is a real pain in the butt, and it's actually a money loser in terms of time and effort that goes into making 1 ounce, casting 1 ounce of silver. But perhaps they're automated, maybe they have a handle on that. So I wouldn't expect these to be, $2 over spot, probably a little more than that. But thank you, Germania Mint, for sharing that with me. I love that little guy, and he will be in the stack forever. Okay. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to also do my next unboxing, and let's go ahead and do that. I only bought 2 things last week, and we'll get back to the market here in a second. But both of them were basically collector ingots. But this one was kind of cool, so I thought you might enjoy it. All right, it's been wrapped. I got this on eBay. Ooh, and it is taped. Hold on 1 second. And you guys know I'm on kind of a Silvertown kick lately. Well, that's what it is. I'm going to bring that back in a little bit. It is a Silvertown bar, but I thought this one was really unique. Let me get out of the plastic. All right, there it is. And if that looks a little different to you than some of the other Silvertown bars, it's got a nice smooth finish. It's got a very vintage ingot feel. It's very well made. And the tip off on this one is the plain back. All right, I looked this up on allengelhard.com. Check that out if you haven't been there. And this bar was actually poured by Jackson Precious Metals. And not that they didn't make a few of them, they did. But I have some Jackson bars, and they're nice vintage ingots in the collection. But this Silvertown, yeah, it was not made by Silvertown. It wasn't made by Engelhard, etc., etc. Jackson Precious Metals. Maybe they're related somehow. For those of you that know, go ahead and post. But I think they just made a really superior vintage ingot here. I couldn't tell you exactly the year, I don't recall. But a plain back Silvertown bar by Jackson Precious Metals, which you would never know unless you went and researched it. So that's what I picked up. I thought it was a pretty good price, but certainly not spot plus 2. So there are the bars for. There's another bar I have coming. I think it's a Johnson Matthey. But let's go into the market and find out what the heck happened. Well, as I opened up, you wish you had that Wayback Machine. And on Saturday, I was saying something significant has happened. I was also making the case that Silver Eagle premiums had dropped. I've been buying from Vermilion. First, his premiums were $6.50 when spot was a little, right about a little less than it is here. And then he raised them to $7, and then he raised them to $7.50. That's when I stopped buying. But I was getting those Eagles in the 28 range. Then I showed you Hero Bullion. You could have bought them all day long at $27.50 out the door, which was the lowest premium I had seen from an online retailer in quite a while. And, Saturday spot was up to $20.50. $20.50. Hero had them, I believe, at 28. It was like 50 cents higher than when I first saw them at $27.50. So, a decent premium. I tried to convince you that premiums were not going to come down that much more on Silver Eagles. Well, today, this morning, spots at $22.70 or so. And Hero Bullion's got their Eagles pushing $33. So if you had that Wayback Machine, would you have bought a bunch of Eagles at 27.50? And here we are in the future with the latest round of panic and market concern, I'll call it. Of course, that's not the only thing. By the way, Vermilion raised their premiums to $10, I think, maybe even $10.50. So Eagles have gone back up. That window of opportunity was so small you could barely, get a needle through it. But hopefully, some of you, I know at least one listener said he bought some Eagles that day, and good for you. Because now they're going to be 32, and you're going to blink, and they're going to be 35. And if we keep moving like we have been, or we probably will be, you're going to see $40 Eagles again. That's why I bought the Eagles, because when things turn, the Eagles go first. What goes second? Maples. Okay, so you'll see the highest premium on the Eagles. You'll see the next highest premium, probably quite a bit lower, on the Maples. So there are still some deals for Maples out there. Of course, they won't be $25 like they were a week ago. They'll be 26 and change, but I think the Maples are an excellent buy right here. The Royal Canadian Mint seems to have flooded the market with Maples at just the right time for all of us. Hold on one second. So if I was buying, which I'm not today, if I was buying, I would consider generic around 25 an ounce. Kilos, maybe you get them even a little less. Or I'd consider the maples, because I think the maples will probably appreciate more. So here we are, higher premiums, Eagles popping again, and if you're thinking of what to buy because you don't want to miss out, first, calm the FOMO. All right, what goes up comes down, and when this is all over, this banking crisis, you're going to see things turn around, but they may not come back to this level. They may not come back to this low level. It's pretty clear now that $20 is a floor, at least until something really horrific happens. Possibly, a 50% downdraft in the stock market or so forth. Anything can happen. Looks like 20 is the floor. Some of you were buying silver under 20 aftermarket. Good for you, but it looks like we're headed up from here. And that's what I said last week. I also said the market would sell off. It certainly did. The banking crisis is growing. So what do I want to touch first on? The banking crisis. First, they said it was, only the tech banks and first they said it's only the internet banks. It's funny how they took those out first, isn't it? Internet banks went first. Instrumental internet banks. Perhaps they deserved it. And then they said, well, it's only the regional banks. Those are the only ones you really have to worry about, especially those that were involved in crypto, etc. And then the very next day they said, well, now the systemic banks are having trouble, as you know, from Credit Suisse, which is a horrible company, ranks, probably ranks even higher on the shit scale than Wells Fargo, the worst bank in the world. But Credit Suisse seems to be far worse. You could make claims about J.P. Morgan, but I won't go into that. Falling apart, getting an infusion. Even the Saudis, who throw their money around like kids in a candy shop, said no more infusions. And of course, then the central bank, the Swiss central bank, jumped in to shore them up. They are systemic. So first crypto, then regional. Now systemic banks are in trouble. All right, and will they survive that trouble? I tend to think they will. Will central banks come to the rescue? Clearly, central banks will come to the rescue. FDIC, I think they violated their charter in guaranteeing all deposits of of Silicon Valley Bank. Although I told you, that I thought the FDIC would do everything in their power, I didn't know they had the power to just cover all deposits from their reserve. And then, of course, what happened after that is so I don't know if the FDIC has exceeded its power, but it's certainly going to exhaust its reserve very quickly. Now, when what the Fed is doing, allowing big systemic banks, actually, and not big systemic banks, all banks, to turn in their underwater treasuries, the treasuries and the mortgage-backed securities and the agency debt, yielding 1.5% or something like that. They're offering them to turn that back in for a 1-year period and get 100% of par, get full par back for it. Well, that's like taking your car and driving it down to Mexico once a week for 3 years, drive it through the water, through the potholes, bang it up really good, bring it home, and then someone says, "Hey, would you like to bring that back and get what you paid for it?" Yeah, sure. Okay, so all those bonds are going back to the Treasury for a 1-year period. 1 year could turn into 3 years. Then the bonds mature, and those people are totally bailed out. I should say those banks are totally bailed out. You and I will never get an offer like that, right? But yeah, here it is. They're getting free money, and then they can go out and reinvest it, buy another bond, give it to their shareholders if they're withdrawing rapidly, which they are from the regional banks, and moving to the big banks. The big banks are gobbling it all up like Pac-Man. But there is systemic risk with the big banks. And what the Fed did is, I believe the number is, of all the quantitative tightening they've done in the recent past, the stuff that the market has all this angst over, they have spent about half of it on these bond repurchases. They'll probably, double that by next week, because who wouldn't take that deal aside from a slight, blot on your record? So there it is, more liquidity in the system. Clearly, the Fed has not blinked, but they have winked at the big banks. Systemic banks. So, this Credit Suisse thing is probably more significant than the regional banks, because the regional banks are clearly, unless the FDIC changes the rules to cover all deposits, or deposits up to $1 million or something like that. Regional banks are going to bleed money until they systematically go out of business. So that's what's going on with regional banks. I'm a little concerned about that, because the big banks, their service is not as good as some of the regional banks. Credit unions may be in a different ballpark. I'm not sure. But the systemic banks, the thing you have to realize about these systemic banks is they insure and reinsure each other. They trade derivatives, which dwarf the size of their bank holdings. And when one goes, they all goes, and they all go, or they all could go. And so when one systemic bank starts to fail, and clearly Credit Suisse is failing, it's a zombie bank at this point. Anybody who's done business with them, anybody who's done credit default swaps where they reinsure their deposits or their debt, I'm not sure which that is, they're looking to get out of that. This is exactly, with just 1 degree of variation, like the mortgage crisis in 2008. The only difference is, wish this bar would tone up. Man, somebody cleaned this bar, and it's a really nice waffle back 100-ounce Engelhard, but somebody cleaned it with damn steel wool or something, and the patina just won't come back. Just want this thing to darken up. Maybe I ought to give it a polish on the belt polisher, huh? See, they didn't fuck with the back. Excuse my French. Beautiful. That's what the front should look like, but somebody went and polished this. Don't do that to your bars or your coins. So where was I? So yeah, these guys are all trading back and forth, guaranteeing each other. It's very much like the mortgage crisis when the mortgage-backed securities went under, and all the people that insured them said, "Sorry, we're broke. We can't insure you," and everybody walked away. Rating agencies did a big mea culpa, and everybody lost money. Well, with some of this failing debt out there, the insurance and the reinsurance, credit default swaps, etc., they don't mean much. And if that starts to go, then look out, Katie, bar the door. All right, so that's the banking system. So why are people panicking? Why is the market going down? Why is gold catching a super nice bid? Boy, when gold was 1817 or something here a few days ago, I could have never predicted it would be 2000 by after hours on Friday. Never predicted that. I mean, for crying out loud, wow, that happened fast. And that's when, if you're waiting for that sell off, as everybody was when silver was at 20, everybody was saying, I'm waiting for 18, I'm waiting for 17, etc. Well, the difference between 20 and 18 wasn't that much. And if you waited, you missed the move, and you may miss the next move as well. And there may be a next move. So if you're checking silver, you saw it pop nicely. Gold did very well up to 2000. But why is silver only 2270 and gold 2000? Wouldn't you think that silver would be 26, 27, 28? Well, I think we're going to see that run, but you never know. Maybe the government will come out with a bunch of reassuring commentary from people who have been wrong every time they've opened their mouth, and perhaps something will change on Monday. But I tend to think we'll have a spike on Monday in silver. I don't know if gold is going to bust here much over 2,000. My bet would be on silver because at 2270 it's still a buy, unless you're paying $10 premiums, and then look for something else. But I tend to think silver can make a run here. The only caveat is the GSR is 88, right? And it was 91 there for a while, which I keep saying, trade silver for gold, trade gold for silver. When, that GSR spikes, it certainly did spike. It's funny, this bar is it's a little bit trapezoidal, isn't it? That's so they can get it out of the mold. It has to have an angle on it. You can't see that. So, what was I saying? The GSR was 91. That clearly was, a good buy point to trade gold for silver. And if you did trade gold for silver and the GSR dropped from 91 to 88, despite gold's spectacular move, you actually made more money on silver. And if the premiums increased, another $3 on top of that, like Hero did, then you made it even more money. The problem is when you trade gold for silver, like I did a few days ago, I didn't buy silver. I was waiting for the money to show up, and look what happened. Silver ran away from me, and gold ran away from me, and I actually got hurt on that. I gave away some gold at far less than it trades for today, and I didn't buy my silver because I was waiting. So sometimes that strategy works, to sell the gold and wait to buy the silver cheaper. But in this case, I got totally screwed. All right. So yeah, I'm sitting on some cash, but you know what? I'm just going to see what happens at this point. Maybe it'll turn around, and things do turn around. So when war broke out in the Ukraine. Let's see if we got anything else to put up here. When war broke out in the Ukraine, you saw gold made its big move. I think it may have reached all-time highs or something pretty close to that. Um, but notice notice how it sold back off after that news got long in the tooth, and this news will get long in the tooth as well at some point. They're not going to let the banks fail. They're just not. What they are going to do is they're going to liquefy the system. Oh yeah, these are completer coins. They're going to liquefy the system, and they're going to bring inflation back. So that takes us to the Fed. What is the Fed going to do? Well, the market, actually, I'm going to back up a little bit and tell you the other thing that was like really, really cool for me personally. I did lose a little bit of money on that GSR trade that didn't happen. But, oopsie. You guys like completer coins? These are the 2-ounce BU completers, which I bought a bunch of. That was kind of a no-brainer if you like semi-numismatics. But like I said, you could cash in your bank account, transfer it over to E-Trade or the broker of your choosing, and buy bonds. Well, I had done that the week before, and I bought some 2-year, some 1-year. I don't know what's going on with the side. Is that a milk spot on the side of this coin? Got milk? The coin is beautiful, but the side's got a mark on it. So that won't bring full value. But in the capsule, I think it would still look pretty good. Those are beautiful coins. I don't know if Royal Mint even made these to be. Yeah, I'm not. Maybe LPM made them. I'm not sure. But yeah, those bonds. My God, when everybody got scared about the banking system, they all did what I have been doing and talking about, buying short-term bonds and some long-term bonds. And anyway, those bonds, the value of those shot through the roof. On Friday, I liquidated 75% of my bond portfolio. Now, why did I do that? Well, first of all, my IRA was at an all-time high as a result, because the only thing I'm really invested in is bonds, gold, and miners. Right, that's all I've got in my IRA, and shorts from time to time. But the price just rocketed up. I think there was like 100 basis point move in the 2-year. All right, so why did I sell my bonds? Well, partly to capture those profits. So now I'm pretty much in cash. I hope that's not a problem. I hope cash at the brokerage account it doesn't go bankrupt. I don't think it's insured. But because I think next week the market has been preparing now and planning for a Fed pause and a Fed pivot. So, I mean, 1 month we've got rates, the 10-year up at 5%, and nobody even wants it. And then fast forward, a month or so, and now we got rates at, I don't know what they are, 3.5 on the 10-year or something. Just incredible moves in the bond market. So I sold those bonds. And next week, when we have the Fed come out and but indicate whether they're going a quarter, a half, nothing, pausing, pivoting. Well, I personally think that they will be more hawkish than the market gives them credit for. And they're going to raise 25. And that will... or say something hawkish, pretend like there is no crisis in the banking system, and maybe they can get Janet Yellen on to make her little O mouth again and convince everybody that she's not an idiot. But I think it's going to be hawkish next week, and I think we have the potential for a ramp up in rates. At which point I would buy those bonds back. And at which point we have potential for a further drop in the stock market. Could be wrong. Stock market's trying to hang on, but it's clearly everything but the NASDAQ is just getting pummeled here. There are still plenty of bulls, plenty of people that want to buy the dip. Boy, oh boy, guys, I guess they got to beat that out of you with a stick. But if you've seen as many crashes as I have, they don't leave, they don't stop until everyone's dead, right? That's what happens in market crashes. We won't be talking about buying the dip. We'll be talking about buying stocks never again. Never again. People be looking for, well, probably silver and gold. But, the market's headed lower. The market's headed much lower, and we'll see if that pans out. But the best moves are ahead of you, and don't get FOMO. I mean, I think you could buy silver here. Boy, I don't think I'd buy gold with higher premiums and at round numbers. But anything could happen. But see, the upside on gold is maybe $100, right? The upside on silver is maybe, what would 7 over 22, 30%. All right. So put $1,000 in silver, you could be talking $1,300 in 2 weeks. Put $1,000 in gold, you could be talking $1,050 in 2 weeks. That's why I like silver better here. However, keep in mind commodities are crashing, and anybody invested in commodities has had their head handed to them. Anybody investing in gold on the rhetoric, not gold, in oil, on the rhetoric that, it's going to 500, got slaughtered, energy companies. Recessions and depressions bring down commodity prices. Put that at the top of your list before you watch any YouTube video telling you anything else. First the dip and then the rip. And that's what's happening in commodities right now. And they're still nowhere near their lows from a couple years ago. They could go lower. Silver is a monetary metal in addition to being a commodity. So that's why it's going up reluctantly. I mean, I said to a friend, or a friend said to me, when gold was spiking, why isn't silver $25? Well, it's got that commodity baggage, and that GSR is really nagging at it in the high 80s. Nobody seems to think, it can go lower, but it can. And it will when people realize that gold is a tougher investment here and silver has the more potential. And we'll get a spike, and then we may get a drop. We may get another spike. I mean, who knows? Depends how many people, pull $10,000, out of their regional bank and walk into the LCS looking for silver. From what I hear, quite a few. Quite a few people are wanting to buy silver and gold at these levels. And of course, gold is almost never a mistake, right? Anytime you buy gold, you put it away, you don't plan to sell it, and then you look at it 3 years later and it's worth more. But it's kind of the tortoise and the hare thing. So that's it for predictions. And I'm going to refer you to one video. And before you watch, 3 more Robert Kawasaki videos or Peter Schiff videos, end of the world videos, end of the banking crisis videos, COMEX running out of silver videos, I'd like you to watch this video from the Dollar Milkshake guy. He makes it very clear what he thinks is going to happen here. Just to summarize it for you, dollar stronger. All right. Metals go up anyway. Stock market up, in his opinion, but down first. So first the down and then the up. So go ahead and listen to him. I think he makes a lot of sense because, you can be right ethically, theoretically, morally, You can have a thesis, but you got to get the timing right if you want to invest in this stuff. He said the same thing about miners. You can buy miners probably right here. They exploded on Friday, and I had my account down to the minimums, which is still, it was still good money, but nowhere near where it used to be, because they beat me to death until I gave up a little bit. But he's saying with miners, don't be the guy that buys on the rip. Okay, be the guy that buys on the dip. Same thing with gold and silver. Be the guy that buys on the dip. And the miners, don't forget to sell. Gold and silver, don't forget to sell some when the time is right. We're repeating the silver squeeze, I think, right now. We're in the early stages of that. Has nothing to do with the guys on Reddit. Absolutely nothing. If anything, they're baggage. This is a real thing. We're going to be squeezing. The dealers are going to be squeezing you, and they had a lot of inventory, which I think they're dumping at this point at higher prices. Watch A-Mark stock, right? If A-Mark stock starts to go up, you'll know they're making money. But don't be the guy that holds forever and never sells when Eagles are $40. Okay, if you sold your Eagles at $40 and you bought them back at $27.50, how much money did you make? Think about it. Same thing with the silver and gold miners. When they rip, dump them, then buy them back on the next pullback. All right, that's the way the silver and gold market work. That's the honest truth. And you can watch it over decades, and I would defy you to come to a different conclusion. And you may, make a good investment in silver and gold, and it may increase, handsomely in the future. But if you trade it, and it's not hard to do, you can exponentially increase the size of your stack. You see a lot of people doing that. So do watch that video. I'll post below from the milkshake guy. And come back tomorrow. I have an interview with a Gold Addict who has a lot to say about a lot of things. So catch me tomorrow for that interview series. All right, guys, let me know what you're doing. Are you buying? Are you waiting? Just how did you play this, and what are you gonna do next? And give your advice to the community. I would love to hear that. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.